me 7 fingers? You guys are so smart. I know you can. Like this, yeah. Isn't that funny? Some people go like this, some people go like this, but it's both 7, right? 7th day of the week. You have 6. You're missing one. There we go.
You did that.
All right, that's 7. Now, we're going to do our finger play. Now, Eden and I were doing our finger play last night, and it was surprising how much we remembered. Now, let's talk a little bit about when God made the Sabbath. When did he make the Sabbath?
The second.
When? When did he make the Sabbath?
Last day. Creation.
Creation, that's right. He made it during creation. Now, this isn't what we typically talk about, but I think it's a good reminder. How many days of creation were there?
7.
7 days of creation. Lucy, do you remember what did God make on the first day of creation? Do you remember?
Adam and Eve.
No, he made day and night. Day and night. Does anybody know what the second day, what God made?
I know. The water, sky, and clouds.
Yes. Mommy gets it all mixed up in her mind. Yes, sky and clouds. What about the third day? Does anybody
I
remember?
know.
Other than you. Yeah, land and plants. What about the 4th day? Now this is one that's I found always interesting. So on the 3rd day of creation, God made land and plants. And he had already made day and night. But what did he make on the 4th day? Does anybody remember? It's a thing that shines in the sky.
I know.
Not
The
you,
sun.
not you. The sun. And what else did he make, Lucy?
The moon.
The moon. And what else?
The child.
The stars, the sun and moon. So, like, plants need sun, but God made them first, and then the next day he made the sun. Now, what about the 5th day?
Rain.
No, he made something that swims in the ocean and flies in the sky. Lucy?
Birds and sharks.
And fish, yeah, all kinds of fish. Sharks and other kinds of fish.
And
And then-
seahorses.
And seahorses.
Fish
Ducks. Now, and ducks. Now, can you think of something, think of something God made on the 5th day?
I know something.
Rachel?
Animals.
Well, on the 5th day, he made fish and birds. So think of one thing. What's your most favorite thing God would have made on the 5th day?
People.
Fish.
Like what kind of fish? Do you have a favorite?
Goldfish.
A goldfish? What about you, Rebecca?
Bird.
What kind of bird? Do you have a favorite?
Cardinal.
That's one of my favorites too.
What
about you, Levi?
I saw it yesterday. My favorite.
Can you think of something
A
that,
bird.
what kind of bird though?
A hummingbird.
Oh, I love hummingbirds too. What about you, Lucy? How about a chicken? You have lots of chickens at your house.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you want? What do you? A shark. What about you, Eden?
Flamingo.
A flamingo. What about you, Emily?
A fish that has white and orange stripes.
White and orange stripes. That could be a tropical fish, or could even be a koi. What about you, Julia? Can you think of a fish or a bird that you really, really like? A killer whale? Those are that's tricky because those are really mammals because they're for various reasons. So they're not fish, but that's tricky. How about let's see, a seahorse? Isn't that funny that they're actually fish? Now, Nehemiah, what we're talking about is the 5th day of creation and what God made on the 5th day. And God made fish and birds on the 5th day, and we were all sharing a fish or a bird that we really like. Do you have a fish or a kind of fish or a bird that you really like? What kind?
Dolphin.
Well, a dolphin. Those are technically mammals, but that's a good guess. How about we've had sharks? What about the little clownfish? Do you know what a clownfish is? They're here somewhere.
Oh, I see one. I see one over there.
Yeah, they're the orange and white ones with stripes. They like to live in the sea anemones.
Yeah, that's the kind that I like.
This is a clownfish. Ezra, did you think of something, a fish or a bird that you really like? see, what about, let's see, look on something here. Do you know what this kind of fish is called?
I know a pokey fish, a puffer.
Pufferfish. Do you like pufferfish?
I said,
Do you know God made them on the 5th day? And also the octopus. God made the octopus on the 5th day. Isn't that interesting? So now we are talking about the 6th day. So what did God make on the 6th day of creation? Anybody know? It's kind of tricky because some animals he made all the animals and he made man and woman on the 6th day. So he would have made the dolphins and the killer whales on the 6th day with the other animals.
dolphins.
Yeah, God made all of that, and he made Adam and Eve on the 6th day. Then what happened on the 7th day?
Rested.
Rested. And that's what we call the Sabbath. All right, so now we're going to do our finger play here.
I know.
All right. Ready? Everybody, hands on your foreheads, and we'll say it together. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle. Now remember, how do we do the cattle? This.
Come on, you put them up and down.
Like this.
Yeah.
For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that in them is, and rested on the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Now what's Jesus doing here? How do we know he's praying?
Because he looking up and he kneeling down and he folding his hands.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? Now, do you know that we don't know what Jesus really looked like? Because there were no cameras and there was nobody to paint him, and so this is somebody's idea of what he looks like. But I think it's a very nice picture because he's talking to his Father in heaven. Now, why do we usually close our eyes? And Jesus doesn't have his eyes closed, but he's praying. Why do we need to close our eyes when we pray?
Or still people.
So we don't giggle, so we're not looking at our friends, or no, we're not looking at the fish, thinking about the fish. Yeah, because it's so easy to get distracted during prayer. So that's why we fold our hands so they're still, close our eyes, and we're quiet and still while we're praying. Because talking to Jesus is a special opportunity to talk to our best friend. So can we all kneel down? Can you guys kneel down too? We'll sing our God is So Good song. Then Lucy's going to pray, and then we're going to say the Lord's Prayer together. All right? God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. Right, Lucy.
Let's have a nice day, and therefore, always have a good culture day and a good watch, and therefore, what about you? A bunch. Amen.
Amen. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Shall we go for a swim today? A swim today, a swim today. Shall we go under my chair. We'll hold the otter. They're so sweet. All right, now everybody else, would you guys like to come up and sit down because we're going to read a story now about the sea otter. I've been so excited about reading you this book. I just can't tell you how much because sea otters are so wonderful. Don't touch it. Sit down. All right. Far away in the cool waters of the Pacific Ocean, a baby sea otter is born. The tiny ball of fluff is just a little bigger than a kitten and is as sweet as can be. She snoozes in the sunshine, safe and secure on her mother's warm, cozy belly. You see the tiny baby? There's the mommy and there's the baby, and she's just a newborn sea otter. She's tiny, as tiny as a kitten, so she'd be even smaller than this sea otter when she was born.
Mom, is this? Mom, is this?
Probably a little bit bigger.
What is this? Right here.
The baby sea otter is very lucky. Mom gives her lots of hugs and constant love and attention. Mom's job for the next 6 months is to teach the little pup how to find food and look after herself and to keep her spotlessly clean. But the pup gets very tired and sleeps most of the day. Just like a newborn. When you guys were newborn, she slept most of the time. I wonder if the sea otter cries like newborn babies. The otter pup has the warmest fur coat in the world. Isn't that amazing? So we all learned a new fact. So
I know what my sea otter harder a shellfish.
So when you are at potluck or at Sabbath lunch today, you can say to your mommy and daddy, I learned something new. And say, guess what has the warmest coat in the whole world? And I bet they won't guess. And you can say, it's the sea otter. So she has the warmest coat in the world. Her fur is so fluffy and thick, it keeps her from sinking underwater. So she's got like this thickest coat in the world, and it keeps her from even sinking. So when mom goes diving for food, the pup floats on the top of the water like a cork. This keeps the pup safe from drowning until she gets a little older and can learn how to swim. So isn't that amazing that God made this sea otter pup to be able to float when she doesn't even know how to swim, but she's in this deep, deep ocean, and she lives on the top. The pup is always hungry. She spends hours lying on mom's tummy, drinking lots of rich milk. This will help her to grow big and strong very fast. While the pup is busy drinking, mom cleans her. She blows air bubbles into the little otter's fur to keep her warm and dry. See, she's blowing bubbles, and there's the pup. And see how dry the pup looks and how wet the mom looks? Doesn't it seem like the mom takes really good care of this pup? This otter pup? She's working really hard. Kind of like your mom. If mom is in a hurry or danger threatened, she gently carries the pup in her mouth, just as a mother carries her kittens. Kicking her powerful back feet, she speeds through the water to take her baby to a safer place. See, she's got the baby otter in her mouth.
Not all the way.
Not all the way, and she's not biting her. But have you ever seen a mother kitten carry her kittens? She picks them right up and carries them around. They don't seem to mind. By the time the pup is 3 months old, she has learned how to swim, but mom always stays close by to protect her. If a strange otter gets too close, the pup gets frightened and jumps up onto mom's back. So there's the pup on mom's back. The pup, mom then makes a scary face and rushes at the other otter. There's a lot of chasing and splashing, and the pup has to hold on tightly or she will fall off. So the mom is really kind of protective of the baby, isn't she? The pup's next lesson is a tricky one. She has to learn how to dive to find food. Clams and crabs are her favorite snacks. She wants to eat them all the time, but it takes months for her to learn how to find them on their own. Luckily, mom is always happy to share her catch, and her chest makes a great place to eat. So look at that.
There's the mom. She's laying on her back, and the pup's laying on her tummy, and looks like she's having some clam or crab or something. See? I can almost smell the seafood smell, and it smells bad. All right. After about 4 months, the pup is diving on her own, but mom is always careful to make sure she knows exactly where she is. Kind of like your mom. Did she ever say, go out and play in the yard, but I better know where you are, right? Yeah. The mother sea otter takes care of her pup the same way. If a pup ever gets lost, mom gives a very loud squeal. The pup knows the sound of mom's call and answers back right away so they can find each other quickly. So what does the pup do right away?
Swim right
Answers back. Now when you're outside and you're playing and your mom calls out the door, Eden! You should always be like an otter pup, or yells out the door, Julia! You'd be like, yes, I'm coming, I'm right here. Not like have to call 5 times and then go look and be like, oh, I didn't hear you. Right, the otter pup always goes right away, and we should be like otter pups. When the otter pup is just 6 months old, she is nearly as big as mom. So look how much. They're almost the same size. She is not quite grown up yet, but it is time for her to explore the ocean world on her own. At last, she can try all the things mom has taught her, like finding food, keeping warm, and staying out of danger. So see, they're about the same size. The pups sets off on her big adventure. She begins to explore the world all by herself. She swims along the coast and even comes out of the water to look at rock pools and warm sandy beaches. So look at the otter. Now the otter's out of the water. Don't you think it would be funny to be in the water most of the time and then out of the water sometimes? She's a bit clumsy on land at first. Sit. But soon learns to use her webbed feet to stroll up and down the shore. So where does she feel the most comfortable at? Rebecca, do you know? In the water or on the land?
Water.
In the water, you think?
I think so. Land.
Soon, the young otter finds a group of other otters floating together, and she makes some new friends. These group of otters are called rafts. Rafts. Why do you think they're called rafts? You know what a raft is?
A boat.
It's like a boat. And so there they are. They're all hanging out, bobbing along together like a raft of wriggling otters. And sometimes there can be hundreds of otters in just one raft. The otters look out for each other and shout a warning if danger comes near. So they really like to be together. It can be very cold in the sea, and the otter does not have much fat to keep her warm. Instead, she has a very thick fur coat, which she has to keep her coat spotlessly clean and to stay warm and healthy. And she spends lots of time grooming herself, just as her mom taught her. So they do lots of good grooming.
Let me see.
Brush their coat, and they wash their fur. Because they're not very fat, they're just very
Look
furry.
at loving it eyes.
I know it. The young sea otter, do you see that, Nehemiah? Loves to snooze in the sun. She can't wear sunglasses, of course, so when the sun is too bright, she uses her soft paws to cover her eyes. Sometimes she falls into a deep sleep like this, but luckily, her thick fur stops her from getting sunburned. Do you see her covering her eyes? Isn't that sweet? I think it's just about the sweetest thing ever. Finding food is not always easy. The otter uses her long whiskers to feel for crabs and clams in the dark depths of the ocean. She also carries a rock in a special fur pocket under her arm. Isn't that amazing? I did not know that until just now.
Look, see, I found
So she has like a special pocket in her fur, and she keeps a rock in it for just the right moment. Because what's she going to do with the rock?
Throw it at the crab.
No, we'll see. The rock makes the perfect tool, like a hammer for breaking open hard shells of crabs and clams. And so maybe when you're at home, you can ask Mom or Dad, can you show me a little video of what an otter looks like when they're cracking open a crab or clam? It's really kind of amazing. God made them very smart. Diving for food is hard work, so sometimes the young otter takes a well-earned break. She finds a nice bed of kelp or seagrass, wraps it around her body to make sure she doesn't drift out to sea, and then falls into a lovely deep sleep. See them all wrapped up in that stuff?
Yeah. I don't like that. That's weird.
Yeah, they like it. They feel safe.
I would never sleep in that. That's
On her first birthday, the otter has finally grown up. Mom taught her well, and she feels safe at home in the ocean. She knows how to swim fast, dive deep, find food, and stay warm. Soon she will be able to ride the waves with her own baby curled up fast asleep on her furry tummy. Isn't that wonderful? Now we'll read a few more facts. It says sea otters live on the coast of California, Washington, Alaska, Canada, Russia, and Japan. Sea otter's fur has over 1 million hairs per square inch, the thickest fur of any animal in the whole world. Sea otters are bigger than they look. They are the size of a German Shepherd dog. Who knew? That's big. They can weigh between 45 and 90 pounds. That's big. I did not realize they were that big. Sea otters have a very high metabolism and must eat about 25% of their weight in food each day to survive. They eat sea urchins, abalone, mussels, clams, crabs, and snails. Let's see. It says the sea otters use tools. They use small rocks or other objects to pry shellfish from rocks and hammer them open. Some otters have taken to using Coke bottles as tools. So they use pop bottles as tools. That's kind of nice, but it's kind of sad because they shouldn't have to be seeing those things floating in our oceans. The sea otter's coat has pockets, flaps of skin under each front leg. The otter uses them to stash its tools and prey during a dive, which leaves its paws free to hunt some more. I think that's a pretty amazing animal that has pockets. God gave the sea otter pockets. All right. And they are endangered. Do you know what it means when an animal is endangered?
Yeah.
What does it mean, Matt?
It means that it's scared.
Well, it's endangered. That is a good guess.
And it will get
If
hurt.
an animal is in danger, like if there's a squirrel running out in the road, that squirrel is in danger. But an endangered animal with an E is an animal that's been hunted or killed so much that there's hardly any of them left. And our poor sea otter is endangered. That means there's not very many left in the wild. That's kind of sad, isn't it? But in heaven, we'll all be able to swim the sea.
So we've been talking about kings of Israel, haven't we? We've had some good kings, and now we're starting to talk about some not so good kings. We had Rehoboam and Jeroboam, and they didn't agree with each other, and God says, I need to split this up. So God gave Rehoboam the land of Judah, and Jeroboam got the other 10 tribes, and they became Israel. So there's two different places, two different kings, but they were all called Israel. Now, Jeroboam and Rehoboam, they didn't get along at all. Not at all. But, let's see, it was Rehoboam that had the city of Jerusalem in his district. And what did the Israelites do once a year? Remember what they did once a year?
Worship God.
They worshiped God once a year. So they would all go to Jerusalem to worship God. Now, Jeroboam didn't like that. He said, if they go to Jerusalem and see what Rehoboam is doing, they may change their mind and want Rehoboam to be their king. So Jeroboam did something that was very naughty. What was that?
He built an idol.
He built an idol. That's right. But not like this. He built two idols the side that were shaped like a cow. Two of them. And, and he says, now you don't have to go to Jerusalem anymore because we've got two golden cows here, and these are going to be your calves. I mean, your gods. And so they started worshiping that, and it just got worse and worse and worse. Then soon there were some other kings came along, and they followed the footsteps of Jeroboam, and the people of Israel kept getting further and further and further away from God. Then came one king, Ahab. Now, Ahab, the Bible says, was the worst king of all. He was the most evil king. He did not want to do anything that God said. He even said, he even did something that God really did not like at all. He married a woman. What was her name?
Jezebel.
Jezebel. Now, if someone ever calls you a Jezebel, are they saying nice things about you? No. No, so no. No. And God wants us to marry people that love God, right? Did Jezebel love God? No, she hated God. Someday, you guys are going to look for a husband or for a wife. And I'm going to put in a little story in here about my Markayla. She's not here today. So Markayla goes to a Christian school, not the academy, but she goes to a Christian school where the kids do love God, and they're learning about God. And she was dating a very nice guy. I liked him. And then she said, I don't date him anymore, Dad. I go, why? What happened? Well, she said, he doesn't want to get to know God. So I can't date him. Wasn't that a good thing? She remained friends with him, but she wasn't going to pursue a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship because he wasn't interested about loving God. That's what Ahab should have done. Ahab should have said, Jezebel, you don't love God, so I'm not going to love you. But that's not what Ahab did. Ahab loved Jezebel, and Jezebel hated God. I mean, really hated God. So really, really bad. And she brought in her god Baal. Here it is. She brought in her god Baal. And her god Baal, she said, my god Baal, he brings the rain, and he brings the dew, and he makes your plants grow, and your corn grow, and your wheat grow. He makes everything for you. And she started teaching the people of Israel this thing. And was that true? Did Baal does do those kinds of things? No, not at all. And she brought in her priests, and they started preaching about Baal, and they taught everybody about Baal. Forget about God. God doesn't love you. God doesn't care about you. He wants you. We want you to worship Baal. And things got so bad, so bad, that God says, I better send a message to King Ahab. I better send him a message. So he found a prophet named Elijah, who loved him very much. Elijah worshiped God and prayed to God every day. And he says, I need you to go tell King Ahab a message. And he told him what the message was. And Elijah, he wasn't afraid of the king, was he? Not at all. He marched right up to the king and said, you king, you're teaching the children of Israel the wrong things. And because you are teaching them the wrong things, God says it's not going to rain anymore. And there's not going to be any dew on the ground until he says so. And he turned around and he walked right back out. And Ahab just sat there going, what? But your God doesn't bring rain. My God Baal does. But by that time, Elijah was already long gone. Long gone. So, we get scene two? Scene two. So God said to Elijah, he says, things are going to happen that with the rain being gone and the dew being gone, I'm still going to look out for you. He says, so I want you to go to a place, there's a brook called Cherith. Says, I want you to go there, find this brook, and I want you to stay there. Now, my daddy liked to fish. And he had his favorite spot of fishing was called Hay Brook, way back up in the northern part of Maine. And he would take me there to go fishing in Hay Brook. Now, I always thought, we aren't in Hay Brook, we're in God's Brook, Kerith. That's where I was imagining while I was fishing. I was imagining that I was at Brook Kerith. And Hay Brook was just like a brook. It's not a big wide river. It was just a small brook. It was about as wide from here to Levi. That's how wide it was. It was not very big at all. And we would get inside the brook and we would fish that way. And we would walk the brook up and down. Anyways, that's how I imagined Kerith being, like my dad's brook. And there he sat, Elijah, beside the brook, and he had water to drink, beautiful spring water. The water in Hay Brook was good too. We could drink that back then. And then, what are these birds? Ravens. Yes, ravens. God sent ravens. These are big. They look like crows, but bigger than crows. We got a lot of crows around here, but ravens, they were bigger than that. And they brought bread. He was being fed. He was being taken care of, wasn't he? Meanwhile, back in Israel, things were getting dry and drier and drier, and no more corn growing, no more wheat growing. Nothing was growing. It was getting really dry back in Israel. And pretty soon, even the brook Cherith dried up and disappeared. Now was Elijah worried?
Oh.
Why wasn't he worried?
Because God told him another place.
Another place, exactly, Matthew. God told him to go to Zarephath. And he said, when you go to Zarephath, there's a woman there that I want you to talk to. And she is going to take care of you. So Elijah went to Zarephath, and he was just about to go inside to the town when he saw this woman coming out, and she was picking up sticks. She was picking up sticks, getting up on those sticks. And he said to her, can you bring me a cup of water? Now, if someone asked you for a cup of water, what would you say?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. We'll get you a cup of water. So she started to get a cup of water. She started going, and then he said one more thing. He says, oh, and can you bring me some bread too? And she said,
We hardly have any food left.
that's right. She said, I was coming out, I was picking up these sticks to build my last fire because I have my last bunch of flour, my last bit of oil. I have only enough to make a piece of bread for my son and myself. And when we finish that, it's all gone. And then I guess we'll just have to lay down and die. And Elijah says, no. See, God has told me that you will never run out of flour, that you will never run out of oil, and that you will always have food, but first you need to bring me a piece of bread. And so she listened, and she went and baked the bread for Elijah. And the next morning,
I know soy is called the time of no rain.
that's right. Exactly. And so the next morning, she went to the jar where her flour was, and to jar where her oil was.
It had more in it.
It did. It had more in it. And she made breakfast. And it was enough for herself and for her son and for Elijah. But when she made the bread, it was all gone.
Nope.
But later that evening, she went to the jar and went to the oil jar. And what happened?
It was still there.
It was still there. There was more. Now, did God give them a whole bunch of flour and big gallons and gallons of oil?
No.
No, he didn't. He just gave them just enough for them. All right, just enough for them to have for that bread. And every day they had that. So God was looking out for them. So this is where Elijah slept. This way.
Oh, the
Okay.
pillows.
And there's the little boy. And then there's Mama. And they all were sleeping, and that's how they were kept taken care of. Now, one day, even though they were getting enough food, the little boy fell sick. And Mommy came up to Elijah and said, Elijah, my boy has fallen sick, and he died in the night. What am I to do? What am I to do? And Elijah says, give it to me, and I will take care of it. So Elijah went and took the boy and laid him out on his bed, and he started praying to God. He said, God, please, you've been so good to this family. You've been so good to this widow and her son. And can you please make this boy alive again? And he prayed, and he got an idea.
And he came back to life.
He did. But Elijah would lay down beside him, and he lay down beside him 3 times. And after the 3rd time, the little boy did.
He came back to life.
A deep breath. And he came back to life, and he brought back the boy to the mommy. And the mommy was so happy to see that her son was alive. And she said, you are truly a man of God. Isn't it amazing? I think it's amazing. This is more towards adults. Every day she was seeing miracles, and she still doubted Elijah a little bit and when her son died. But now that her son was alive, she says, you truly are a prophet of God, and your God is the true God. And then the story goes on to something more fantastic. It's one of my favorite stories in the Bible, but we'll have to come next week to find out what that story is.
Your Father knows the things you have need of before you ask Him. Matthew 6:8. So what Father are we talking about here?
God.
Talking about our Father in heaven. And do you know that everything that you need, just like in the story of Elijah, everything that you need, God already knows, and He's already working for it.